Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Secret Power of Protein. I'm Trudy Bledsoe. Tonya Patterson and I will be sharing some info with you tonight that we think will be really beneficial for your health. We have over 50 years of combined experience in the field of health and wellness, and we have a whole team of people that we just love to work with, and we hope you enjoy this presentation. Of course, this info is given not to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent a disease. Please consult your physician before making changes in diet, exercise, and supplementation. So grab a notebook and pen, focus for the next 20 to 25 minutes on this info, and I think you'll be happy that you watched it. Some of our other webinars are archived in a special place. We'll tell you about that in a minute. And here are some of the titles: immunity, gut health, blood sugar, brain health, heart health, PMS. We actually create these webinars ourselves, and we've been recording them since, well, how many months ago? 5 months ago, maybe. So we have several different stories here and content info that seems to be really exciting people. Now, when you think of protein, you probably think of somebody going to the gym, drinking protein to build muscle and to work out. However, tonight we want to share with you some info about protein and the benefits to every part of the body, literally every part of the body. So we're going to be learning what is protein, why is it important, how much is needed, and what's the best source of protein. So first, let's talk about the actual word protein and what it means. Protein comes from the Greek word, which I won't try to say, but it actually means primary or holding first place. And actually, the word was coined in 1838. Protein is of primary importance to the continuing function of life. It works in every part of the body. I'm not going to read all of this slide to you, but just keep in mind that proteins protect us from disease, and in the form of interferon, protein is what helps to mount an attack against viruses. Many hormones cannot be manufactured without proteins. It controls the activity of genetic expression. Everything you see on the outside is protein. Everything just about inside is protein. We're going to tell you more about that and why it's important to get certain amounts of protein every day. So let's talk specifically what parts of our body are protein. Look at this. It's everything you are. Glands, blood, cartilage, ligaments, bone, teeth, brain tissues, digestive enzymes, skin, hair, eyes, fingers, nails, muscles, tissues, nerves, blood vessels. Misspell that, sorry about that. Every organ, every gland, hemoglobin, hormones, antibodies, all of those things are made of protein. So in short, everything you see on the outside and almost everything you have on the inside is protein. Now, what happens if you have a mild protein deficiency? That could be characterized by fatigue, low blood pressure, poor posture, low resistance to infections and diseases, improper blood clotting, slow pulse, lack of appetite, poor digestion. It goes on and on. Shriveled skin, you know, those people that hold up their arm and the skin is sagging, that could be because they're not getting enough protein. Premature aging, increased risk of fractures, dental degeneration. Who would have thought that that would be part of a protein deficiency, or that it could be? Thyroid and adrenal challenges, anemia, insufficient production of antibodies, leaving us unarmed against the action of viruses and toxic invaders. Now, when someone has a severe deficiency, this is pretty scary. The proteins in the blood responsible for the collection of urine are decreased in amount until urine collection does not take place normally. And the result can be water and waste remain in the body, ankles and legs swell, hands and eyelids become puffy. Now, once upon a time, Dr. Shackley was asked this question: in rebuilding my health, what is the first material that I must consider? And this is his direct answer right here: protein. For it is the basic food. 95% of your cell structure is protein. Your cells require a good supply of protein to repair and build new cells. Without protein, there would be no cells. Without protein, there would be no body. Dr. Forrest Shackley. No protein, no life. It's that simple. Tonya, tell us about what protein's made of.
Okay, so protein can be broken down further into smaller units called amino acids, and those are attached to one another in long chains. And if you think about how the alphabet works, you can string different letters together to create a word. Amino acids are the same. Depending on the order in which they're put together, they create different proteins for different things in the body. There are about 20 different types of amino acids that can be combined to make proteins, but of those 20, 9 are essential amino acids. And essential is a very key word. When we talk about essential, it means that your body does not make them. You have to get them from the foods that you eat. So, what exactly are amino acids? They're technically the building blocks of nature. Protein is broken down into amino acids in the body, and then your body uses amino acids and combines them in different ways to rebuild the protein matrix of cells and muscle tissue, skin, and cartilage. Here's a list of the 9 essential amino acids. I want you to pay particular attention to leucine on the list. Later on, I will be talking about leucine and its importance, but leucine is one of the 9 essential amino acids. So of these 20 different amino acids, when we're considering the 9 essential ones, if we get those 9 essential ones daily in our food, including supplemental protein, then our body can combine those into the various combinations to make the other amino acids needed to support all of those functions that Trudy mentioned earlier. What if we don't get these non-essential amino acids? Well, if we don't get them, it would just be exactly like if we take letters out of the alphabet, there are going to be certain words we could not spell, certain words we couldn't make. So if we don't have all 9 essential amino acids, essential, if you think of those 9 essential ones like vowels in the alphabet, if you took out the letter A, there are a lot of words that would no longer be able to be used. And so if we don't have all the amino acids, then our body will lack the ability to do certain functions. We can get these non-essential amino acids daily by eating what's called complete proteins. A complete protein is simply one that contains all 9 essential amino acids. Now that complete protein does not have to be in one food. It can be multiple foods combined together to create a complete protein in one meal, but they do have to be present in the same meal. Now, I get asked, as a nutritionist, I get asked all the time, how much protein do I need daily? Well, there isn't a one size fits all answer to the question. Each person is unique in age, gender, genetic makeup, their activity level, even the quality of their health will affect how much protein they need. But there are some general guidelines that are well researched that we can go by. The RDA, the recommended daily allowance of a nutrient, including protein, is set at grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. I want to give you a simplified formula that you can work with easier. And that is if you just take your weight and you multiply it by 0.5 or just cut your weight in half, then that gives you the minimum number of grams you need per day. But I do want to stress the fact that this is the minimum amount that you need. The RDA is set at a minimum to keep you from getting sick. It is definitely not the specific amount that you're supposed to eat every day. It is the minimum to keep you from having problems. So let me just give you an example. For a woman who is sedentary that weighs about 140 pounds, according to the RDA, she would need about 53 grams of protein a day at minimum. But for a woman who is moderately active or trying to lose weight, more is better. And the guideline for that would be 1 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. And that would mean she would need, the same 140-pound woman would need between 76 and 131 grams of protein per day. And so you can see a 140-pound woman, 131 grams of protein, that is significant. So let's pause right here, take a break, and I just want you to take a second and think in terms of how much protein you personally need. If you take your weight and divide it by 2, then you're going to get the absolute minimum amount of protein that you need on any given day. And then if you look at what you weigh and think, okay, that's how many grams of protein optimally I probably need to get in a day, then what you need should fall somewhere between half of your body weight and your actual body weight in grams of protein per day. We're going to talk about how you're going to get that. But first, let's consider the whole protein package. This is a really important concept that I want everyone to think about. 3 things to consider when choosing protein sources, and this is what I call the protein package. It takes into account everything that you get with that protein source. So first of all, is it complete? Meaning, does it have all 9 essential amino acids? Is it high quality protein? Okay, we all know that there's protein in a fast food cheeseburger, but we also all know that the quality of the protein in a fast food cheeseburger varies greatly from the quality in an organic chicken breast. There is a difference. And then, is it balanced? We're going to talk about balance differently than you may think in just a second. But first, let's look at some of the animal-based protein sources. I think everybody's probably very familiar with where animal-based protein sources come from. You can see the list there. There's no need for me to read those. I think most people would be able to make a list of those very easily. But plant-based sources of complete proteins are very different. We don't typically see complete proteins in the plant world. So here's a list of some of the sources of complete proteins in the plant world. And soy is actually the most complete of all of the plant proteins. But this gives you a list of some of the ones that are also helpful to use as well when you're looking at complete protein sources. Now, this is what I want you to consider from this slide. I said earlier that the quality of the protein source varies from food to food. And we all know that, like I said, a fast food burger is not going to have the same quality of protein as far as the whole protein package as, let's say, eggs. So here you can see chia seeds, a burger, eggs, cheese, chicken wings, and even a birthday cake. And all of those things have protein in them, but not all of them supply the best protein package. And when I say protein package, I'm looking at calories, carbs, fat, cholesterol, and protein. What else are you getting with that protein? So let's take a look at how to get 24 grams of protein, a minimum of 24 grams of protein. You could eat 1 cup of raw chia seeds and you would get 24 grams of protein. And that would be a plant-based source of a complete protein. But you would also be getting 44 grams of fat. Granted, it's a healthy fat source, but it's still 44 grams of fat, 60 grams of carbs, and 690 calories just from 1 cup of chia seeds. They're very nutrient dense and high calorie. And so you can have 1 cup of raw chia seeds, but for most women, that's half of their caloric intake for an entire day. And you've gotten it all in 1 cup of raw chia seeds. Then if we look at a cup of wild cod, a cup of wild cod is 26 grams of protein, but you're only going to get 170 calories versus the nearly 700 you would get from the same amount of chia seeds. There aren't any carbs in it, only 6 grams of fat versus the 44 from the chia seeds. And the difference, the trade-off is you're getting a scant 41 milligrams of cholesterol in the cod where you don't get any in the plant-based sources of protein. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we should swap all of our proteins to plant-based sources. As you can see, some of those have much higher caloric intakes than even the animal-based sources. And then let's look at 1 cup of grass-fed ribeye steak. It's going to have 48 grams of protein. So beef is an excellent source of protein. You're going to have only 340 calories in that 1 cup of ribeye steak, which is, yes, definitely more than the cod, but certainly not more than you would find in the chia seeds. Only 18 grams of fat, which actually is not that bad, and 120 milligrams of cholesterol. Now, that does need to be considered for people who are on lower cholesterol diet plans, but of course, fish is a great alternative for that. Now, are you feeling a little bit overwhelmed yet? Trying to figure out how much protein do I need? How do I compare proteins to see which one I should get and what sources I should get them from? And for goodness sake, like I just don't even know how to get in that much protein a day. And protein overwhelm is a very significant thing. If you're thinking, I have not a clue how to get in 120 grams of protein a day, I will admit it's a little bit difficult. But that's where Shaklee comes in, and that's what's been so beneficial to me. When I chose Shaklee as my brand partner, one of the main reasons I did for myself. Now, if you go back and hear my story about why I picked Shaklee in the first place, you'll hear about my son's health. But for me, one of the main reasons I did is because of the difference that I felt once I started having a protein shake or protein smoothie every single day. And you're going to learn in the next few minutes of why it's so significant to carefully choose your supplement partner. So I want to talk about that next. So this x-ray, if you've listened to any of our webinars, you're always going to see this because this is such a great example of how you don't always know what you're getting in a vitamin supplement. You can't always see what's going on the inside of you. So it's important to know, is the company safe and is the product tested? Is it proven? Is it guaranteed to work? Is it even guaranteed to dissolve in your system? Well, when it comes to protein powders, contamination is the big issue. It's not so much dissolving in your system because the protein is pre-digested in all protein powders, but contamination is the source of concern for protein powders. A Consumer Reports article explained that many of the top selling powders and drinks, protein drinks on the market, contain concerning levels of heavy metals like arsenic, cadmium, mercury, and lead, and even toxins like BPA, which is typically found where plastic containers are used in food can liners. Those substances have been linked to cancer, brain damage, and even reproductive issues. So a study from the Clean Label Project, which is a nonprofit that just looks at the purity of products on the market, found that virtually all of the 134 products that they tested contained detectable levels of at least one heavy metal, and 55% of those tested positive for BPA. And it isn't that, okay, well, it's only just a small amount in one protein shake. You don't consume just one protein shake. These are things that people consume on a regular basis, and those toxins accumulate in our body and they can stay there for years. And sadly, that's not the only source that people get it from. We get it from other places too, so we have to consider our total exposure to those things. Frequent consumption of foods that contain those toxins can have adverse health effects over the long run. And for those of you who are thinking, oh, well, I'll just get plant-based protein powders because those are going to be healthier, right? No, not at all. Actually, the plant-based protein powders were worse than those made from whey or animal products, and on average had twice as much lead, and the amounts of other contaminants were higher as well. And interestingly enough, buying a product that had an organic label didn't reduce the chances of getting a contaminated product. In fact, the organic protein supplements had higher levels of heavy metals on average than the non-organic ones. So just because it says it's pure and just because it says it's organic doesn't mean anything if it isn't tested for those contaminants. So the lead researcher on this project said, when you do have a protein supplement that is very, very clean, it proves to the companies with high levels of heavy metals that it is possible to do better. Thankfully, 30 years ago, Dr. Shaklee was already creating a very pure protein product in his lab, working for 30 years on extracting the 9 amino acids and delivering them with a unique bioavailable delivery system. In 1961, that was a really long time ago, he created one of the very first soy protein isolate formulas. And Shaklee has been working to have the best protein formula on the market and the cleanest and purest one since then. Dr. Shaklee said you have to not only consider the quantity of protein, but you have to give careful consideration to the quality. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. Shaklee protein powders have not been altered by heat or chemical processing, and that is significantly important. And this is what, these are 3 distinct points for me on the Shaklee difference on protein powders that are super important. First of all, they process the protein in a way that preserves all the enzymatic activity and produces a much higher quality protein. They don't use alcohols or solvents in the extraction method, and the low heat processing ensures that the proteins are not overcooked and rendered denatured, which is very important. And then, most importantly to me, they screen for over 350 contaminants, pesticides, and impurities on every single botanical ingredient, which means that I can confidently and safely choose to have a Shaklee protein shake every single day, knowing that I'm not inadvertently consuming toxins that could harm my health. And that really is the reason why a lot of athletes use Shaklee products, because there aren't any hidden banned substances in the Shaklee products and the protein powders, and they can count on Shaklee for purity and performance. And that is part of the guarantee that Olympic athletes get, that the products are super pure and they're free from all those contaminants that you see there, non-GMO and gluten-free. And that's why Shaklee Olympic athletes have won over 146 gold, silver, and bronze medals to date through the years. Now, this is a great example that Trudy put together that I feel like everybody can so simply understand. If you take a handful of seeds and you boil half of them for 1 minute, and then you plant the half that you didn't boil and the half that you did in well-prepared soil, which ones do you think are going to grow? Obviously, the ones that have been boiled are not going to grow because the heat destroys the enzymes in the seed and it's incapable of producing life. The same is true with the protein powders. If they're heat produced, it doesn't matter if they're organic or not organic, they're not going to have the same effect on your body that a product that has been made under low heat processes like the Shaklee protein powders will have. Now, here is a common thing that I hear from clients. Well, I will use Shaklee supplements because I know that they're the best, but when it comes to protein powders, any organic protein powder will work, and I'll pick something that's clean and organic because it's cheaper than the Shaklee one. But here is just a prime example of why price matters. A regular ribeye beef steak is about 87 cents per ounce, but a grass-fed organic beef steak is about $1.50 per ounce. And it really does cost more to produce the quality. And so, yes, when you look at cost strictly across the board, Shaklee protein powders are not going to be the least expensive on the market. They're going to be organic protein powders that are going to be cheaper than that. But they also might contain heavy metal contaminants and things that we don't want in them. So Trudy's going to take a few minutes. We're going to take just the next few minutes and go through the different protein options that we have, because obviously by now you've seen that you need a lot of protein, your body needs it. You've figured out how many grams of protein you need, and you're probably figuring out that getting it all just from your normal dietary food intakes is going to be a challenge. I know it is for me. And this is why I rely on the Life Shake and the Build Shake, and Trudy's going to tell us about those.
That was great, Tonya. Great info. Well, we always like to start with a foundation. And of course, we now know protein is that foundation. And so when you look at this is what we consider the foundation, the shake, and either the multivitamin or the daily vitamin strip that has the multivitamin on it. So these two things are what we call synergistic. And that's why we always suggest that people put those together, because they're doing different things in the body. But when you combine them, it's synergistic. They both are more powerful. And here's why. Because protein, as we've learned tonight, is the building block of every cell. Well, the vitamins feed those cells. So you can start to see how they work together. Well, what makes the Shaklee Life Shake a powerhouse? This is what my breakfast is every morning, guys. And talking about grams of protein and how much you need, I just kind of clap my hands every morning when I've had this shake, because it's 20 grams of protein off the bat that I don't have to worry about during that day. And a lot of times I might even add a scoop of the whey protein, which I'll mention in a minute, which gives me a total of 30 grams in that one shake in the morning. Well, it's ultra pure, it's non-GMO, it has precise ratios of all those non-essential amino acids. It's powered by leucine, which Tonya will tell you more about in a few minutes. 6 grams fiber, balanced meal, added digestive enzymes for improved protein absorption, because some people do have problems digesting extra protein. Low glycemic, it goes on and on. It's just very safe, and it works, and it's easy to get into the system. We also have a product called 100% grass-fed whey protein. Depending on how many scoops you use, you could get 20 to 30 grams per serving of this. And once again, it has that full spectrum of essential amino acids that we've talked about in this webinar. And it's scientifically developed. It's a blend of whey proteins from 100% grass-fed cows. It has 7.9 grams of BCAAs, 50% more leucine than traditional whey protein, fast absorbing, easy to digest, no added sugar, an amazing protein supplement. Tonya, tell us why the amino acid leucine is included in these, or it's one of the essentials. What does it do?
Well, leucine is significant because in clinical studies, we know from multiple clinical studies that leucine specifically is the amino acid that helps to preserve lean muscle mass while we're trying to lose weight. It also just helps to preserve lean muscle mass in general. So as we age, we need more leucine. And if we're losing weight, we need more leucine. And if we're working out, we need more leucine to preserve that muscle mass. The challenge with leucine is that it's bitter. It is the most bitter of all 9 essential amino acids. And so a lot of products don't have adequate leucine in them because it's hard to mask the taste unless you add sugar or artificial sugars or some kind of citrus flavor to it. It's really difficult to mask the taste. But Shaklee has done a really tremendous job of having products with high levels of leucine that still taste amazing, and they truly do.
Very good. And we also can't forget the children when we're talking about protein. And I like to recommend that children start with a meal shake because, let's face it, we want to meet their taste buds where they are. Children usually prefer a sweeter taste, and this does have a sweeter taste. And you can get them on this and then switch them gradually over to one of the other soy shakes or whatever. But it's inexpensive. It's a meal in a hurry. When parents are trying to get their kids off to school in the morning, just pop it in the blender. It's finished, and they drink it, and the parent can have peace of mind that they've had a balanced meal. Non-GMO, low fat, low glycemic, non-soy, 19 essential vitamins and minerals, no artificial flavors, sweeteners, colors, or preservatives. So this is a great breakfast for kids, or it's a great snack, even when they get home from school in the afternoon. So all in all, when we talk about the Shaklee protein shakes, whether they be Life Shake, the Whey Shake, or the Meal Shake, we call it healthy fast food. It's safe, it's pure, it's proven, it's guaranteed, and you can't get much faster than throwing it in the blender and drinking it. So it's a healthy fast food. Now, before we end this, we want to say a special acknowledgement to Dr. Shaklee for his work on the protein. He was ahead of his time. He understood the powers of nature and keeping those live enzymes intact. He knew God put them there for a reason, and he did not want to destroy them. He formulated his first vitamin in 1915, we know. He released the first soy protein isolate in 1961, before some of you were born. And this is his quote about why food is so important. Health is natural, disease is unnatural. Both may be fed by the food you eat. The choice of those foods is your responsibility. Eat foods that are rich in nutritional elements and you will build strong, healthy cells. Eat altered, devitalized foods and you will suffer from tissue cell starvation. We also want to say thank you to all of you who are on our webinars and you come regularly. We thank you for the opportunity to share this info that we've collected over many years of study, research, and one-on-one contact with our clients who have shared their own personal stories with us. And in summary, we want you to feel confident about the products that you are definitely taking and giving to your family. Shaklee is a guaranteed supply of essential nutrients on a daily basis in a safe and convenient form. And in this busy lifestyle that we all live, safe, convenient is very important. Now, if you like the content that you saw in this webinar, we have other webinars that we have archived at Tonya's website, liveamazing365.com, under the tab Insights. This is what you would look like if you go there and start scrolling down. These are free for you to watch. It's also free for you to send your friends there and let them watch, because we want to educate people about health healthy alternatives. And now we're going to jump into one of our favorite parts. We're going to turn the recording off. And if you're new to our webinar, stay on. Do not hang up, because we have fun in the Q&A and we get asked all kinds of questions that we will be really candid about and give you true answers. And so just hang loose. We're going to stop the recording and jump into the Q&A. Thank you for joining us for this webinar.